My name is Hattie Books, and I'm a member of the church at First Christian Church at Evansville. On that day, it would have been, well, about almost 17 years ago, I got a call from my daughter in Crawfordsville that our great-grandson had fallen, was badly injured. My granddaughter, who was the child's mother, had just gone to the grocery to get she wanted to make pancakes for Saturday morning breakfast. And she got the call when she was in the checkout line. So immediately we drove to Crawfordsville, and they had by then taken him to Riley. And they tried to keep him, they did keep him alive until his father, who was in the Navy, was brought home for his funeral. But it came to light that afternoon, during all of the things that were going on, that the stepfather had murdered him. I have no idea of the circumstances, but Cole was a year and 10 days old. In fact, for his funeral collage, we used the proofs of his one-year-old pictures. The pictures had not been developed. That day I was numb. You know, there's no way else to explain it. You feel nothing, you actually don't see much, you don't hear much. You're just in a fog. The next morning was Sunday, and we came back to Hagerstown, where we lived, to go to church with our church family. Because I told Anita, I said, you're going to your church where people love you, and we need to go where our people love us. And about halfway in the sermon, our minister stopped. He said, we're going to stop for prayer. He said, Hattie and Dale are going through the firestorm of their lives right now. And he said, we're going to have prayer. So he said, you can come around them and pray if you like, or you can stay in the pew. He said, it doesn't matter. Well, some of the elders and some other people came over. I don't remember who. And I was so filled at that moment with anger. That's all I can describe it as. I said to myself, if that's murderous rage, I guess I know what it feels like. Because had I could have gotten to him, I don't know what I would have done. I was so angry. And I laid my head down on the pew, just when we had prayer. And I said, Lord, I can't handle this. I absolutely cannot handle this. I'm just going to tell you what happened. It was as if a calmness, a peace, started at the top of my head and went out the bottom of my feet. Until this day, I have no animosity toward that young man, because his life ended that day too. He was only 23 years old. I could walk up to him now and put my arms around him and tell him I forgive him. And I hope and pray that he comes to God, and that he's able to live a productive life to honor Coles, who didn't have a life. Until this day, of course, I remember it, but not with any bitterness or anything like that. And my daughter, I've got to stick this in, my daughter, who was the grandmother, she drove to the prison to see Nick, and she told him she forgave him. And she said, Nick, the way you can honor Cole's death is by you making something positive out of your life. I talked to Anita today, the grandma, and she said, Mom, the hole is still in my heart, but I could put my arms, well, he was in jail, she couldn't get into him, but she said I could say to Cole, I forgive you, and I could say to him, not Cole, Nick, I forgive you, and I could walk up to him, and I could, if he were a Christian, he'd be my Christian brother. But it wasn't easy. But forgiveness is there, and the only person who can bring it to you or to me is Jesus Christ. That happened to me as surely as I'm sitting here in my house today. It just went out the bottom of my feet. It was gone. I don't know how to explain it. I just know it happened. You can't handle it by yourself. You've got to give it to the Lord. That's the only answer I know. Because he does. I'm living proof that he does. I shared this with our small group, and they looked at me like, but it happened. And maybe someday I'll ask the Lord why he was so kind to me. He loves you, and he forgave you for far, far more than that. And Nick had to be forgiven for, but it's not easy. But that's the story of my forgiveness, and I treasure it, because I don't know where I'd have been. I'd probably been in an asylum somewhere, because I really was in bad shape. But God can take the worst of situations and make them new. There is life after this, but you've got to walk it with God. You'll not be able to walk it by yourself.